guys, Anna here. Welcome back to Builds with Anna. Today we are in the brand new world of Copperdale on probably one of my favorite starter home lots in the game, just because the scenery around this lot is so beautiful. And today we are building a starter home cabin in the woods for my sim self. So a couple of weeks ago, I decided to create my sim self, Anna. So this video is live currently. You could actually go and watch it. I will actually link it at the end of this video for you. If you haven't watched that, go ahead and watch that. But today we are building a house for her. And I decided to build a cabin because it was not something that I had built before. And I really wanted the challenge. And I felt that this was the perfect world to do so. And I was looking at reference pics and I found a very what I felt was an achievable cabin, and I just ran with it. I tweaked it a little bit, but it definitely had this shape. So the shape that you're seeing is very much what was in the reference picture. And then it was more of a rundown cabin. So I did use a lot of assets from the Werewolves pack because I felt that the timber was a little bit more old and worn, and it matched the vibe, as you can see here. So a little bit about this cabin. It's very small. It's very small. This is a 1x1 cabin. It has a very tiny living area. I wouldn't almost say it has a living room. It's just kind of like a beanbag chair and a little TV. It has a really nice kitchen, I would say. The bedroom, I do use a single bed. And I've been using it a lot lately in my starter homes or smaller homes. I've been doing single beds as opposed to doubles, just because I really still like a nice spacious space. I don't like to have something that is like super like constricted, and sometimes I feel like when you cram a double bed into a space that really shouldn't have a double bed, it does look a bit like cramped. So yeah, that's basically the cabin. Now, the reason I went with this eco lifestyle wallpaper for the exterior is because the reference picture I had, it had like, it was obviously made of wood and they were, horizontally laid. But the thing is, they looked very worn. You had pieces that were darker than others. And this was the best kind of wallpaper that depicted that reference picture in the game. So it is usually a wallpaper that I would potentially have as a focal point. So I would probably, I would paint one section of the exterior or interior with that wallpaper and it would be contrasting with another wallpaper. But I decided to run with it. I think that it worked well with the foundation that we used, with the season windows, and that green stark tin roof I think really made it. So the flooring is the flooring that we actually got in the base game update. So I thought that was quite nice. And generally, when I thought of making a cabin, the one pack that really stood out to me was obviously seasons. So the doors, the windows are all seasons. And I wanted to, and the inside, I did still want that kind of log cabin look, but I didn't want to have the dark wood tone on the walls. So that I put a lighter color so that it doesn't look it doesn't look as, I don't know, I just think it looks nicer to have a contrasting light wood tone compared to the flooring. I think it turns out nice. It does have a homely feel, so some of those objects that we've used in the bathroom they're potentially a little bit more old-fashioned. They're a little bit more rustic kind of vibe I went with, and especially in the kitchen. So we're not really using appliances and things that are really kind of modern or new. It's very lots of wood tones, lots of very dated objects. We do use the cabinetry from the country kitchen kit, and it's just because it looks worn. And it looks like it really fits that kind of, cabin in the woods kind of vibe, which is essentially what we wanted to do. Now, the shape of the kitchen is very odd. I've put the kitchen and the sink off to the side, but I think it works. Like, I don't think it's actually that bad. It kind of implies that it's a small house with an interesting layout. So that's why we've done that with just a very kind of basic dining table. So they're from Eco Lifestyle, I believe. They're the ones that you either craft or can get from or you can get from the dumpster. So I thought that was good. And then we have her main bedroom. And again, I'm using lots of assets from the Werewolf pack. So that rug and I believe the trinket case. The trinket case is just more for a decoration, but I did add an old vintage TV from Eco Lifestyle just in case we could not fit a TV. So I put that in there as in that was my kind of attempt. And then we had this kind of end section of the main hallway, and I thought I really want to add a computer. If I don't get anything else, I want to add a computer, because if I can't have a TV, I'll have a computer. And then I realized I could use a tiny living bookcase, and I could make a little kind of office nook, and that's what I've done. And I've used this raw bookshelf because of the textures. It just kind of, again, those man-made materials where we're kind of utilizing that in this build. Her bedroom is pretty simply decorated. There's nothing too much going on in there. I really struggled with this bin, but I decided to put the bin inside the kitchen. It kind of gives it a more lived-in feel. Like, I know when I'm cooking, sometimes I adjust my bin, maybe potentially to throw rubbish away while I'm cooking. And it kind of gave me that vibe that that's what this sim was doing. And I guess obviously because it is my sim self, I kind of did insert a little bit of my personality into the build. And I really loved objects that had lots of different, textures. So there's those wicker baskets. There's a lot of wood. There's a lot of straw, there's a lot of what else have we got? We've got rugs, we've got, wooden flooring, we've got metal, we've got just these man-made materials, and it does make it feel very intentional. All right, so in the end, I ended up moving the bathroom door so that I could utilize this diagonal wall, and this is literally the living room. So it's just a tiny TV on an end table, or a side table, with a beanbag. And I went with this khaki green beanbag because it kind of gave me forest type color palette, but also kind of matches with that dining table as well a little bit. So it pulls in that color. So I thought that was nice. And I did end up putting some cushions on the ground just for more seating. Not that it's practical because it doesn't face the TV or what have you. But again, I was just trying to clutter the space, but not clutter the space, if that makes sense. Because I'm such the type of builder where I actually like to have space. I like to have functionality as opposed to some, you do see some builders who will fill every inch of the house with something. And they are amazing builds, don't get me wrong, but it's just not my stuff. So yeah, this cats and dogs dresser is actually really useful. I like it because it's not too bulky. I like that, it's a wooden dresser. So I think that it was appropriate for this build and I was able to place it. Alrighty. So at this point, I am realizing that I've only got 1,600 simoleons left, and I realized that I haven't furnished that front patio, and something that does come to me in the end is I don't actually have spandrels. Now, part of my reference picture for this cabin was those wooden spandrels at the top of those columns under that porch. It was so important to me that I had that. And then by the time that I decorated the porch and I'd realized that I hadn't put spandrels, I had no money. Like, as you can see, we are down to 82 simoleons, and I'm having to use these refurbished dining chairs that are 10 simoleons each for the chess table. So I do now re-enter the build, this beautiful decorated house, and I do start deleting things because, oh my God, I need to have these spandrels. And they're expensive. They're I think it's 130 something simoleons to put spandrels on that front section. So in the end we get there, but I think I do just start with the landscaping just to kind of forget about it for a while. Now the landscaping of this build is very overgrown. It's very overgrown. Because this house is very much it's plonked in the middle of this forest type area. I really want it to be in place. There we go. We're just doing the spandrels now. Just deleting some things. I really wanted the landscaping to really fit the surrounding areas. So I went into debug and oh my God, High School Years has a really, really solid debug menu. Some of the flowers and the plant options that we get with this pack, it's just phenomenal. I'm obsessed with these little white flowers. They're just so stark and contrasting to that dark wood tone, and they just really kind of give a little bit of lightness to the build. So I really enjoyed those. So those, along with those that green kind of grassy area, they're the main flowers that I use. or plants, sorry, that I use around the place, and I'm just sizing up and down, alt placing, playing around. Also these white little daisies, I put those surrounding the trees and the paths and what have you. So yeah, it does slowly come together. And we got these planters, oh my god, these kind of like, I don't know, it's just grungy kind of eco lifestyle is kind of planters. They're just beautiful. And this wooden fence, oh my god, it was so appropriate. So it just matched that kind of the kind of wood, where again we're using wood, which is important in a cabin, but the detailing actually on the fence kind of gives you that it's about nature, it's about plants, and it's like in the forest. Oh, it's just perfect. It's absolutely perfect. And I decided to put a car in this build, and I saw obviously the little parking concrete, I don't know what they're, like dividers, and I just placed one down, and I think the car looks like it fits the build, but let me know in the comment section down below that when we place it, what were your thoughts. But I think it was a good choice. Yeah, no, I just think it ties it in. As I said, these overgrown grass areas just absolutely, like, this is what I wanted. I wanted to give that vibe that we're in the woods, it's overgrown, but it's still appealing. It's still pretty. You know, I wanted to give that vibe, but, you know, definitely wanted to still be appealing. So we are going around and we're just cluttering up each side of the build with some plants, some landscaping. And I am kind of being intentional with my placement, but then also not. And I think that's because of the style of the build. Like if you look at the landscaping in Copperdale, like the surrounding areas that we're in, just as you can see on the video, it's not intentional. It just looks like it's all plugged on and a bit overgrown, and I wanted to emulate that in the build. So these planters are not actually planters you can plant things in. So I've just selected some plants and I've just raised them, sized them up and down and raised them in order to fit the planters. They're just daisies from base game, I believe. Just some little purple flowers and then some rocks. As you know, I always use rocks and little flowers to line pathways, to line garden beds. It looks a little bit more realistic. And here is the orange ute. The pickup truck, I think it looks great. I just really love it. I love the orange and how we've got bright pops of color. You've got that green roof, you've got that orange car and the white, and it's complementary to the wood tones. I've really, really enjoyed how this one turned out. And I think my sim self will enjoy this house as well. So we are just going in with some terrain paint. We are just putting some dirt under all the landscaping. And this is seriously one of my biggest tips, because you'll see after I just finish this exercise, this terrain paint, just how much this lifts this build. This build looks so much more put together, and all I've done is place dirt under plants, and it just looks more finished and polished. And that is why it is definitely a tip that I recommend. You know, take the time to do this with your landscaping and really just you know, don't be afraid of terrain paint. Don't be afraid. It's a great tool. It's a great tool. And under your fences too. So that just gives the illusion that it's not plonked on, that it's intentional, that it's one with the landscape and what have you. Yeah, that I believe is the majority of the landscaping. I do place a bike in this build just because I feel like it would be so beautiful to ride a bike through the scenery and along the paths and what have you. And I was just in debug and I found these skill items. So I found that meditation stool. I thought that we could afford some planter patching. I don't know what they're called. They're like, it's not a pot, but it's a planting square, you know, a produce planting square. So I added those in because, you know me, I love my skill building stuff. I think it's so important in gameplay to have those elements. And yeah, we are just placing the final things, and now we are actually live, and we are taking Anna into the build, and she is going to show you around. And this is basically the tour, and she's busy playing bowling on her little gaming system there. And yeah, I decided to put the build at nighttime just to kind of show you that kind of moody forest vibes. And yeah, that is today's build. So let me know in the comment section down below what you thought of today's video. With that, I hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye for now.